welcome back to my channel. My name is Holly. This is She Reads. Today we're going to be doing a book review on The Cult on Fog Island. This was a book that I picked up kind of last minute, actually at a Walmart trip, because we were going to the lake and we were just, stocking up on whatever, like food and all that kind of junk. And I saw this on the table that they have, like, full of books, and I thought, that looks interesting, and it was so good, you guys. I flew through this. It's quite long. It is over 500 pages, but I really flew through it. I am going to start this off by saying I give this a 5 out of 5, and then I'm going to start the first part of the review off with no spoilers, and then the second part will be more spoilery. So if you have not read this, just listen to the first part. I will let you know when I'm going to get into the spoilers, and then you can definitely go and read it and then come back and watch the second half, and you can kind of have a discussion together in the comments. That would be awesome. But yeah, so The Cult on Fog Island. So this story follows Sophia, and she's a girl that's just kind of graduated from college. She's coming out of a very tough relationship, so she's kind of running away from that. And basically this guy, without getting into too much detail, he was abusive, turn away. And so she's basically fleeing this relationship, and she kind of gets caught up in this cult. Sophia receives an email from basically the head of this organization, inviting her to come and hear a speech that he's going to be giving. The place is called Fog Island, and his organization is called Viaterra. So what it is, it's kind of like a new age, almost seems kind of like a hippie style place where they're kind of just like concerned with really clean, healthy living and how that can kind of transform your mind, transform your body, and just like make you a happier person in general. Sophia ends up going along with a friend of hers to this talk that Franz is giving. And he just kind of goes through all the principles of his organization and kind of what they believe in and all that kind of stuff. And it really, something about it really resonates with Sophia. And after the talk, he ends up coming to speak with her, and he invites both her and her friend to come along and do the program. So what it is I think it's over a matter of a few weeks. It kind of depends on the person, however long you kind of get to go through these lessons. There's these different lessons that they teach you while you're there, and you kind of go through them at your own pace. And it just kind of like helps teach you a lot about life, and it's supposed to, like really relax you and kind of put you in a better frame of mind. And he invites these two women to come and take part in this program. So Sophia's friend declines, but Sophia's really interested in it. She's just graduated from college, and she's kind of trying to get away from this boyfriend, so she thinks it'd be a really good opportunity for her to just kind of see what's out there. So she goes, and while she's there, she absolutely falls in love with the program. It's something that she really believes in. They really believe in, like, sleeping with your own like body clock. So you go to bed with the sun, you wake up with the sun, you just kind of like sleep, you don't wake up with alarms or anything like that, and you eat really clean, healthy food. And it kind of like, there's like kind of some therapy aspects involved in this, and she really falls in love with and starts to believe in all of these programs that she goes through during her visit at this, well, for lack of a better word, cult. And as she's going to it, she kind of like, there's rumors about this place being a cult, and she kind of just thinks like, whatever, like it's silly. Like she can kind of understand why people think that, but once she goes through the program, she does not think that it's a cult whatsoever. Now, at the end of her journey here, she's graduated all these courses, and it's time for her to leave. The Viaterra's leader actually offers her a job. So he offers her basically a dream job of mine to design Viaterra's library. So as of right now, like they're just kind of setting up this organization. So not everything is done yet. And this is set on like a really, well, on Fog Island. So it's an island, and it's in a huge old mansion. So they're completely redoing this mansion. And there's quite a bit of history along with this mansion as well. And so there's kind of like spooky stories that go along with this place too. But they haven't finished the library yet. So he offers her this job where she gets to completely organize the library. She gets to handpick every single book in there, and basically run the library. So it's kind of a dream job for her. And it's something like he offers her a contract of 2 years. And, after that she can decide to stay, or she can leave if she'd like. Whatever she ends up wanting to do. So she thinks about it for a while, and she decides to take this job. Now, once she becomes a part of the staff, things do start to change. So I don't want to spoil too much, but basically this charming, amazing man that she actually was starting to have feelings for even, starts to turn slowly. And you see Sophia's character throughout the book really evolve. This is definitely a character-driven story. I mean, it's a plot-driven as well, but there's a huge character arc with Sophia. She kind of starts out as, you know, just like a normal girl. She's, you know, she's trying to escape a past relationship, and she's trying to, like, you know, figure out who she is in the world. And she seems pretty smart, and she kind of has a good head on her shoulders. But you see her evolve throughout the story into somebody that you're like, you're looking at this pages and you're going, what is wrong with you? Like, how can you not see through this guy's bullshit, first of all? And second of all, like, why would you think that what he's doing is okay? Because he starts to change a lot throughout this book, and it becomes very clear that this is definitely a cult and she needs to get out. And it kind of like shows you throughout almost like a victim mentality, like almost like Stockholm syndrome. Like, you always kind of wonder how that happens in real life. Like, how do people start to kind of sympathize with their captors? And this book just did a really good job of showing kind of how that happens. It happens slowly and over time. And it's almost like you start to, as a victim, you start to sympathize with the person that's abusing you. And, you know, as a person that's not really gone through that in my life, like, there's been times where, you know, you hear stories of that and you think, well, why didn't this person get out? Or why didn't they do something different? Or why didn't they change the way that they were reacting to the situation? And in this book, it absolutely shows you how things like that happen and how a person's mentality can change over time. So that's definitely one really good thing about it. Yeah, I really, like I said, I don't want to get into too much of what all goes on in this spoiler-free section, but basically things start to change. She starts to make a really big discovery that is like really scary about this man and about Vyattera in general. The whole atmosphere begins to change, and it becomes very scary and very controlling and very abusive to pretty much everybody that's here. So it shows the arc of how this happens and what ends up happening. The book begins with her trying to escape. And there's been, you know, several escape attempts, and it's just a bad situation. With that being said, I'm going to end this spoiler-free section. I don't want to give too much more away. So if you have not read the book, I definitely recommend to skip out now. Go get this book. It is so good. 5 out of 5. And it's a very quick read. Like, I read it in a few days because it was just like, it immediately just grabs your attention. This is the book that got me out of my reading slump that I had been in. I was in a reading slump for almost a month, and this immediately pulled me out because it was just so interesting and I could not put it down. And now we're going to get into the second part where I talk a little bit more in depth of what happens, and there are lots of spoilers in here, so just letting you know. So basically, my biggest thing about this was how Franz changed. And it was just like, I mean, it's kind of like a classic, you know, like it was almost a trope where he's just like so charming in the beginning and she's just like taken in with him. And I kind of was annoyed with her because it's just like, in the beginning, like the slightest little bit of attention that he would show her, she would just be like, oh, you know, like, and get all giddy, like a little schoolgirl. And you're just like, girl, like, you're in your 20s, like, I don't know. It just seemed kind of weird that she just like any form of attention that he would give to her, she would just eat it up like a puppy. And it seemed like almost any man that like gave her any attention, she would kind of like do that. When she met Ben and started a relationship with him, it was kind of the same way. And that kind of like, when she first met him, I was kind of annoyed at that. I'm like, oh my God, this girl, like, you know, this Franz guy gives her attention and she's all of a sudden like, oh my God, I like him. And then this other guy, she just meets him and all of a sudden she's like, oh my God, I like him. And it was just kind of annoying. Like, that was definitely a character flaw that I found in her, that any man that gave her attention, she would just like immediately be like, oh, I think I like him. And it was just, I did not like that about her at all. But slowly, as we found out, like, he starts to change so much, and it starts with little things, just like little things that he does. Like, you just kind of were like, like maybe everybody was right about this place. And I mean, in the first place, it wasn't really a secret that this was a cult. Like, this was something when she was first getting ready to go, people were talking about this as if it was a cult, and she just kind of ignored all that and just was like, yeah, I'm gonna go blindly. And like, I don't know, for me personally, if like my family and my friends, like everybody was telling her like, please don't go, like, you know, especially her mom was like really afraid. I don't know, I'd kind of probably take that into a little bit more consideration, but she didn't. She just up and decided, yeah, I'm gonna take this job. And I mean, it definitely is a dream job as well, but just the fact of like being stranded on an island in the winter and all these like scary stories surrounding the place, like, I don't know, it definitely like had a really good mood set for being a thriller. But yeah, back to Oswald, like I mean, you could kind of tell that something was off with him in the beginning, even just like how he would say that he worked so hard. And she does mention that about, I don't know, it was like halfway through or something. She kind of like, so she kind of comes out of her fog every once in a while because he's slowly been brainwashing her. And all of a sudden she'll like have these thoughts that she's like, wait a minute, like I am your secretary now and I see you throughout the day and you're just like on your computer, like what are you doing that's working so hard when you saying that we're doing nothing, and you're the one that gets to sleep, you know, full hours and all these hours at night, you come in every morning refreshed, relaxed, like are you really working as hard as you're making it out to be? But then it's so interesting because once she has that thought, then she kind of suppresses it by saying like, oh, see, this is what he's talking about, that, you know, we're like, this is like bad thinking, we shouldn't be thinking this way about our leader. And it just kind of starts to show you the mentality and how she's changing and how she's starting to sympathize with him, even though what he's doing is completely ridiculous and the way he's treating all of his staff is like unbelievable. And especially like once it started getting physical, like that first time that he attacked someone, I think it was Simon that he attacked first, like it just shows you mob mentality. There's all these people there and they all know in their minds that Oswald's in the wrong, yet they do nothing to help this guy. Sophia's the only person that kind of like speaks up and just tries to change the subject and kind of get them away from each other, but nobody would physically intervene. Nobody would help this guy. And then he gets sent off and like nobody even like talks to him again. Like it's just so weird to me that more people weren't doing anything or having these thoughts, and maybe they were having these thoughts. We only see the story from Sophia's perspective, so maybe every once in a while all these other people were also having these kind of like thoughts where they thought this guy was nuts, but they were too scared to say anything on their own. I think that's definitely a part of like mob mentality, right? Like you just don't, or the bystander effect. Yeah, I don't know, it was kind of sad. Like some parts, like you really felt bad for a lot of characters because you're like, geez, like nobody's like gonna stand up for this person. And even like that girl, I can't remember which girl it was, but the one that couldn't swim and he made her jump from Devil's Rock, like she can't swim, are you serious? And like nobody was willing to stand up for her and say like, this is like, you cannot make her jump. Like it was just so weird. And it just kind of showed like this happens in real life. That's what the scariest thing is. Like there are cults like this in real life and people that act like this. And that's what I just kept like flashing back to my mind is like, this does happen. Like this is not based on a true story, but there are true stories like this that really do happen, and that's scary. Now, the second thing, like one thing that I found that I didn't really like about the story is she and Benjamin's relationship. Like it definitely obviously was very forced. Because they weren't allowed to be in a relationship unless they were living together, which is weird in itself. And she only decided to move in with him because she was sick of Franz constantly like touching her. So she thought that if she was living with somebody else that he would back off. So I didn't like that in the beginning. And I mean, that's probably part of like the whole cult thing where it's just like, it's forced. Like you're not naturally like that. And you're, you know, being forced to do things that you wouldn't normally do. But after he betrays her, I didn't really understand that point. So in the end, when we find out that Oswald had heard that whole conversation between Sophia and Benjamin regarding them trying to escape together, and he had called Benjamin and that's why Benjamin betrayed her, I still don't really get that part. I think that was a part of the story that wasn't wrapped up well enough. I still don't understand why Oswald wouldn't have punished Benjamin at all. And they kind of made it seem like it was because they had a previous relationship prior to this. But knowing Oswald's character, I really don't think that that would have mattered to him and would have been enough for him to spare Benjamin. So I definitely think that that should have been wrapped up in a different way. I don't understand why he would just be like, okay, I heard you and her having this conversation, but you're going to be okay, but she's going to get sent off to purgatory as long as you turn her in. Like, it made no sense to me. And even like her getting together with him afterwards, like after she makes the escape, like, I don't really understand why she stayed with him after that. Even just like, even if she could get past that whole thing, to me, if I were in that situation, I would just want to leave that part of my life so far behind, and continuing on a relationship with somebody that you met and that you had, you know, such a stressful relationship with that whole time. I don't know why you would stay in a relationship like that. Like, and I mean, I guess she doesn't really make the best decisions regarding men to begin with, and that's evident even like with her bringing back Ellis as well. Like, why would Ellis be there? I don't understand. Like, of all these people, like, she's working with this journalist and all these cops and stuff, like, they could find any IT guy that could like hack into those files. Like, I mean, I'm sure there's more than just Ellis. Like, I don't understand why Ellis would be there at all in the end. So those were kind of just like situations that I thought were kind of silly. Another thing that I kind of wonder about while reading this, like, this place was obviously established a while at least before Sophia joined. And slowly after she joins is when Oswald starts to change and the entire atmosphere of Vioterra starts to change. So I don't understand, like, how was he able to keep it together for so long before she got there, and then all of a sudden she got there and he starts to kind of lose it a bit? Like, that just kind of seemed odd to me. Or was he always, like, was he acting crazy towards those other people and just being nice to her for so long? That was one thing that I also didn't really understand. Like, what was it that kind of changed him? Because he was holding it together for quite a while even before she got there. So unless he was acting that way to everybody else and nobody was really telling her, like, you know, like, he's crazy. But yeah, so that was another thing that I kind of didn't really understand. Of course, you know, you get so frustrated with the character like this because there's so many opportunities, it seemed, you know, to do something, and it just, like, she would kind of talk herself out of doing anything. And it seemed at first, it's almost like these people knew before they knew that they weren't going to be able to leave. Like, right in the very beginning when Simon says that he quits, like, before that it was like all these people were scared, and Sophia's like having second thoughts herself, and I'm thinking that whole time, I'm thinking, well, why don't you just leave? Like, why don't you just leave? All these people were having these kind of like feelings, why didn't they just leave? And then finally Simon does, and then they all realize, like, no, we're not allowed to leave. We can't leave. Like, well, you guys, that is all that I'm going to say about the Cult on Fog Island. I really, really enjoyed this book, and I don't know how popular it is. I don't know how many people have read it, so I don't really want to say too much more. I'd like to continue the conversation down in the comments. If you pick up this book, I believe that you will enjoy it, and I would love to hear your thoughts on it, so please comment down below. Next time, I hope you guys are having an awesome day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!